When the power of love overcomes the love of power, the world will know peace. Wishing for peace in our world, wishing for an end to war and violence will never bring it about.
When the power of love overcomes the love of power, the world will know peace.
It begins with our decision to be at peace within ourselves and with all others that peace becomes. This is the way of the one we follow, the light that calls us to live in peace for what we can be.
When the power of love overcomes the love of power, the world will know peace.
Today we light 2 candles. The first candle reminds us to live with hope, for that could be. The second candle is lit today for peace. May this light warm each heart that opens, and may peace become today.
Singing, and may peace become today. Gloria, we sing. Gloria, we pray. All together as one voice, and may peace become today. Would anyone like to come up for a story this morning? Hi, Hannah. That's cool. I love the colors. Hi, Freya. Theo.
Santa.
We do? Is it anyone we know?
Well, it's just me.
Theo, I wonder if you could just move a little bit there. That's good, just so I have enough room here for the story this morning. So, I tell this story every year at this time. This is a little different version than sometimes, although I think I did this one last year. But it happened a long time ago. And it's a kind of a strange story about a young man, and his name was John. And even though he started as kind of just an ordinary everyday person, he ended up doing some pretty amazing things. And so he lived in the land called Judah, and it was a fairly fertile place. Lots of things could grow there. And he lived in one of the, it feels nice, doesn't it? Doesn't it feel nice? And he lived in one of the small towns there. And there were lots of people in this town. And most of them were quite poor. It was hard for them to earn enough to feed their families and do the things they needed to do. And John, as he got older, he noticed that people didn't really know God. Like they went to the synagogue, or what we call the church, but they didn't really know God. It was like God wasn't in their hearts. They kind of thought about God, but God wasn't in their hearts. He also thought that there were just way, way, way too many rules and laws. There were rules about who you could be friends with and who you couldn't. There were rules about what kind of work you could do and what kind you couldn't do. There were rules about what you could eat. Imagine Hannah, as a vegetarian, being told you can only eat meat. You're not allowed to eat vegetables. Wouldn't be very good, would it? But that was the kind of rules. There were things that they could eat, there were things they couldn't eat. And they even had rules about how they were supposed to pray and how they were supposed to do things at church. In all, there were over 600 rules that they had to follow. And John, even though he was fairly young, said, there's just too many rules, and there's not enough love, and there's definitely no peace. And so he decided he had to go away and see if he could find another kind of God. And so he went out into the desert, into the wilderness, all alone. He just left the town, went out into the desert, hoping there that he could find God. And he came to a river. It was called the Jordan River. Well, sometimes there's rivers in the desert. And in this case, there was one. Of course, it wasn't actually blue. It was more brown. But I only had blue for water, so we're using a blue river today. Anyway, he went out and he went to the river there, and he prayed and prayed and prayed, and finally he felt God in his heart. He felt a sense of peace and love. And he knew that life was about love first, before anything else. And what happened is people from the towns around here heard that there was this strange guy out in the wilderness, out in the desert, that seemed to know something that might help their lives be better. And so they all started coming out to find him. All kinds of people. Young ones and old ones, men, women, children, all came out and to find out what John had learned. And many of them, when they heard from John, said, I want to live that way too. I want to live with my heart full of love so that I can know peace. And when they made that decision, he would take them out into the river and push them down under the water and bring them up, and that was a sign that they were now going to live a different way. Over the years, thousands of people came out to that river. It was pretty amazing. I wonder why John felt he had to go away to find God. You don't know? And I wonder why so many people came to see him. I wonder. Yeah. It's kind of strange and amazing all at the same time. Anyway, that's the story. It's a story that we tell this time of year because one of the people that came to John eventually was Jesus. And so we like to be reminded of how that all began. We're going to sing our Advent song now, Day After Day. And so if you want to grab some sticks or shakers or whatever else is over there, and we're going to sing Day After Day.
Big sound.
Day after day, this time of the year, moment by moment, as Christmas draws near, we start to wonder, and so we say, will peace open love now in the day? Day after day, this time of the year, moment by moment, as Christmas draws near, will justice happen throughout the land? It will if we start now, hand in hand. Day after day, this time of the year, moment by moment, as Christmas draws near, we start to wonder, and so we say, will peace open love now in the day? Day after day, this time of the year,